Hello people. I'm making another video here that doesn't have so much sun in my face to talk about the data of this week. I am making this on Sunday the 16th as we move into an interesting 3 days, because on Monday the 17th, when the moon goes into Scorpio, we enter a watery private place in Scorpio, and at 11:03 a.m. the sun will make a conjunction to the North Node in Pisces. Very Piscean, watery 48 hours coming up here after with the aftermath of a major lunar eclipse and a Mercury retrograde station. A lot of mind power stuck, a lot of wanting to move forward and can't, and some finding that they have to surrender and let go. And I think the surrendering continues the next 3 days, and I'm going to say a beautiful way. For some, it could be very disillusioned, but when you have a sun and a North Node getting together, that's kind of really keeping the focus on the Pisces story itself. North Node is the head of a dragon, it consumes and will just go, go, go. We do have to be careful in Piscean realms here of how we, in a sense, disconnect or connect, how we transcend or not transcend, and the vessels that we use to do that in. You have to gauge this for yourself, and you have to gauge the Pisces part of your chart for yourself in all this. You know, as the moon moves through on Tuesday and we get to Wednesday, then the moon goes in lofty, expanding Sagittarius, mutable sign, and that's when the sun in Pisces will conjunct Neptune in Pisces. You see how Pisces stuff is huge here. It's about surrendering, actually. And if you have hopefully understood the lesson of this a little bit, if there was too much Mercury, too much of the Virgo part of your life and world because of the eclipse, and you found yourself having to get away from being critical to yourself if there are other situations, having to solve the problems, having to do this, the to-do list, it just goes, it goes. When Virgo is out of whack, that's how it runs, and nervous systems crash. Too much mind, too much mind. What does a Virgo do? We look at the polarity point and we look at the Pisces end of things, of trusting and surrendering and having faith in unknown and mystery to counteract the run-on sentence. This is one way it works. Interesting thing here the next several days is how we surrender, what we do in that sense. I've mentioned this on the channel, we will identify with something else when we sometimes run away from something else. Pisces has a penchant for doing this because it's water in all forms, and it will penetrate anything and any storyline and become that. It's because it can't help to want to become one with something. It's just how we do it, how you do it. Is it productive and healthy? Is it good for you? Or is it about getting lost on purpose in avoidance and running away to mask something, to disconnect, to dissipate, right? So this works differently for whoever. But when you have this amount of Piscean stuff, Neptune, etc., in the next 3 days, think of it as an observational break where one lets the dream and the messages come through in whatever forms that it is, and we don't even try to then logically piece it together afterwards. It is what it is, and then we'll forget about it. And sometimes we forget about it forever, the messages come through. But I don't feel that's the case this year with Neptune anything and Pisces anything, because of the relationship with Aries and what is happening with Mercury and Venus the next month, of how it moves from Aries to Pisces and back to Aries, right? And how Neptune and Saturn are going to be doing this all year. This is key here. The next 5-6 weeks, it is your practice space for a larger transits that will happen to us when Saturn and Neptune go into Aries. So a little bit of this now is the training that's going on and understanding. But before we take any actions like Mercury and Venus want to do right now, even though I'm going backwards, it will not flow the way it could flow. Down the line it will. It's more about this week and what's happened after this weekend, the next 3-4 days. It's an assessment, but is the letting go of assessment. It's just letting Neptune wash over the rough edges, letting things that come up through the subconscious, how we do faith and surrender. Again, The number one key is here. It's how you get to that place or how you let that enter your space. What you do. Some, they'll take whatever chemical substance, whatever it is, that's what they're doing. Some, they're practicing some religion and they go to their temple, church, or whatever, right? Or they have their place in their house and they're on their knees and they do their surrendering, their prayer, their asking for, their petition. And you don't know if it's going to happen, right? But there is this thing of surrendering, letting go. And just by doing that, I think there's a sense of some sort of like edges washing off, just temporarily, right? So I think that's there here the next 3 days. And if you could do it with a sense of just assessing and not feeling like you have to act upon something, when it comes to deeper narratives, I think you get some clues and you do get some insights. And I think they come through here and there the next 5 to 6 weeks. And I think they will come through later on this year again, where just when you've forgotten the visions and the insights, Saturn and Neptune are going to move forward in Aries all summer long, Northern Hemisphere. Later in the year, they're going to go retrograde and they're going to come back, to the degrees that Sun and Neptune are this week. So this will be a reoccurring thing. So sometimes we worry when we surrender and let dreams come through. We're looking for the secret messages and then they're forgotten, which they do in Neptune transits. They do. Pisces and stuff, it's like that. It just kind of goes into the ethers, came through and did its thing, comes back. But they come back. They come back this year. And I like this because then this is where we bring other planets. This is where we bring a planet like Saturn into the mix, whether it's in Pisces or even Aries, to give form and to eventually give function to some of these messages permeating you or us or coming through. But the biggest thing here, I would say the next 3 days, is your version of surrendering. And in a way that's not, it feels like a loss. Because if there's a heavy bunch of Aries people out there, or there's Mercury in Aries right now going backwards, or Venus in Aries is going backwards, soon we're going to have the equinox this week, we're going to have Sun in Aries. That's not a word they like to hear, typically. Mars rules that sign of Aries. Mars is in Cancer right now after its own retrograde cycle. It's moving forward and going over things. It wants to move forward and protect and set up foundations. But sometimes, that word surrender can be like a loss for people. And that's not where I'm coming from. Even if you're on the battlefield, there's times where you replenish the troops and the weapons and all that, but you have to sit around the fire or sit by the river and surrender, let go, and let whatever be will be. And whatever emotions, happiness, sadness, fear, these things that come up, they come up. And they must swim through this and let whatever come, and then ride with it, roll with the waves. You're jumped in the river and it's taking you to wherever. Can one just breathe and float and let it take you wherever? And when we do that the next 3 days with the Sun-Neptune conjunction, the North Node situation, then we get later into the week and the Aries stuff kicks in again. So can you take a little respite, like a little break? Assess what happened during the full moon. Shut off what the hell's stressing you out. Ask yourself, ask those who have your back for help. Hear you out. Don't have to solve it now. Do you go to your temple? Go to your temple. I like this stuff because of what's happening in the world and what harsh stories people are going through. When they have the places of what their temple is, it gets back into the mystery and humanness, because we're all mysterious people. I think we carry much more mystery out of logic in our world than we know. We don't assess this, but we are mysterious beings. We are like the gods and goddesses, you know. And then we don't know anything. I don't know anything. I'm like Odysseus. The part in the story where Odysseus is so broken at the point in the story, he loses everything, is lost, and he falls on the beaches, you know, and he's on his knees. And after cursing, other times of cursing the gods and or thinking he is a god or whatever, lose everything. And then you're nothing. And you're washed up on the beach. And he surrenders. Like, surrenders. Like, you know, people do this. They ask, they petition, they pray. Or they put themselves in a place where they open themselves up and like, let it wash over me. I'm not going to fight anymore. I don't want to fight anymore. I don't want to hold on. I don't want to problem solve. I don't want to this. I am what I am. This is it. And that is okay. And that is one of the major parts of being human, you know. So that's just what I'm thinking. Again, the 17th here, which is 24 hours after I'm making this video, 11:03, Sun, North Node conjunction at 27 degrees Pisces. The 19th, we have Sun conjunct Neptune, 29 degrees Pisces. And it is the next day at 2:01 a.m. Pacific time that the Sun will go into Aries. And a happy equinox. Happy spring to all of you this week in the Northern Hemisphere, to all my beautiful people in the Southern Hemisphere. It will be fall, the end of your beautiful summer. It's later on in that week. On the 21st, Friday, we do a Venus sextile Pluto situation. Very powerful, quick connection that Venus retrograde has with Pluto. So air and fire get together. A little hint, another little chapter in the air and fire story we're going to be living in the next so many years. And Saturday is a beginning of a massive 48 hours. At 6:07 p.m., Venus retrograde will go into the heart of the sun at 6:07 p.m. on the 22nd Saturday. And then the heart of it is the Kazemi moment, is the midpoint of the Venus retrograde cycle. And then it's on the 24th, on the Monday, that Mercury's going to do the same. I'm going to make different videos on this later in the week and probably pull off a surprise live stream. I did 3 last week. I'm going to do it again. If you found yourself here and you're new and you dig it and you're like, who the F is this dude? I'm Nicholas Polymonakos. I'm a warrior and a human being who is vulnerable but carries a strong stick and is currently letting go. Press the subscribe button, hit the like to know when I go live. Leave your comments down below. How will you be surrendering? How did you come out of the lunar eclipse here that happened? And what was it when it comes to either surrendering or faith or hope or prayer? What is it for you? How did it happen? Has it happened? Right, whatever you want down below. You know I read this stuff. I can't answer it all. I read it. I'm open for sessions, as some of you know. I've had a bunch of bookings lately. Been great conversations, as always, working with all. I learn from all of you, by the way. I love facilitating, but I get so much insight, and it permeates my own life. And I'm very fortunate. And I take that, and it's like refueling, and then I bring those insights back to the next person. And it's weird how it works that way because they're individual private situations with unique individuals just like you. But in the bigger picture of things, the bigger Neptunian, Piscean picture of things, it's all connected and it all feeds into things. And for me, I sit here in situations like that, and I have to let it be, whatever the magic is. The more I surrender into the space that's created, the more I am true to myself. And the more people I find in a session are true to themselves, the insights come. We are powerful at the same time we are creating a container to let go and have the beautiful mystery come through to help us along the way. All my information is down below. Until next time, on this moody sun recording that you've noticed, I hope the next several days with your ritual and in prayer that the edges wash off and you find some dreamy insight and a little bit of peace. I'll see you on the next video.